Hey, hi everyone. Welcome to your show, E-Coffee with Experts. This is your host, Ranmay here. And today we have Jeff Romero, who is the SEO consultant and founder at Octiv Digital with us. Hey, Jeff, how are you?
Doing well. How are you?
All good. Jeff, before we move any forward, let's get to know the human behind the mic. Why don't you talk us through your journey thus far? And how did you found Octiv Digital and what has been the journey with Octiv Digital thus far?
Sure. Yeah. So my journey has been quite involved. I've been in the agency side as well as in the in-house side for throughout most of my career. I started in the in-house side, working on the e-commerce world, getting my knowledge there and understanding what happens in e-commerce, and then learning more about SEO and marketing, digital marketing as a whole from there. And then transition over to the agency side where I learned what that looks like, working with a bunch of different clients in different sectors, solving different problems, and really fell in love with that world, knowing every day is going to be something different. You're working with a different client set, you're working with different problems that you have to solve. So really loved that area. And then my personal life took me back into the e-commerce world where I then spent the next about 8 or 9 years working for a company called lumens.com, where we sold high-end lighting and home decor products. And I ran the SEO program there for that as well. And grew the traffic there, had a lot of data to work with, a lot of strategy to work with there and test there. And eventually that came to an end. The company was purchased by a competitor, and we got to a point where a lot of the Lumens team decided to leave the company. And I held out until about August of 2019 and then decided I was going to go off on my own. So went off on my own at that point and was at a point in my career where I was trying to figure out, do I want to go back into the agency side of things or do I want to go back in-house for a company? Did a couple of interviews trying to figure out, what's going to be best for me and even my personal life, and decided, you know what, I want to do the agency thing. I saw just so much opportunity there, so much potential with SEO, with paid search, with web dev, everything that we now offer today. And decided, you know what, I'm going to go into that role and try to figure out what we can do. So we started acquiring clients, started building a team, started building up different departments to where now we can offer web development services, web design services, analytics consulting, paid search strategy, SEO, content, link building, the whole kind of run that businesses need for their digital strategy.
Lovely, quite a journey, I must say. You have been on both sides of the table, Jeff. Which one do you feel? I know each side of it has its own challenges. Which one do you feel is more challenging?
I think the agency side is more challenging. And I honestly love it because I'm up for a challenge. The in-house role, you're doing the same tasks on a day-to-day basis. You're growing the traffic for the company. You're trying to do what you're doing there. But I honestly like having to solve different problems. I could go from one day I'm trying to solve a problem for, let's say, a law firm. And then the next day I'm working with a dental agency. And then I'm working in something in e-commerce. And then it's a car dealership. It's just across the board. So I get exposure to a lot of different types of marketing and different strategies and different industries. So then I actually use that to cross over and know, okay, if this is working well for this particular client, why don't we take that same strategy and apply it to this client? And in some cases, that works out really well for us.
Yeah, absolutely. You nailed it when you said you have that exposure to work across industries. You also work with a lot of different founders and obviously top down, you got that one approach, one vision. There is nothing wrong in it. But when you are with an agency, when you are sitting on the table with those founders, you have all those different ideas and visions and those brainstorming sessions, which has its own learning on challenges as well. Handling a law firm client to a medical practitioner is two different sides of the world. So is that it has its own challenges, but yeah, you seem to be enjoying it.
Yeah, definitely enjoy it. And I love seeing our clients grow. And a lot of the businesses that we work with, they've had budget and they've had a focus on digital for a little bit, but they haven't really done it well. So we like to take them from that growth phase to where they're really growing and really scaling. That also goes into the name Octiv Digital. There's some music terminology behind that. And that kind of gets into where we like to help businesses scale and grow.
Absolutely. Talking about scaling and growing, obviously you have grown Octiv Digital now, and you started at some point, right? Running an agency is not an easy task. You and me know that, right? So, when you started it out, what were those initial challenges, Jeff, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges that we faced were a lot of just administrative stuff. Who are we going to use as an invoicing vendor? Who are we going to use for hiring talent? How are we going to, a lot of the back end stuff, not that necessarily like day-to-day client interactions and how we were growing those clients, but a lot of the stuff to actually run the agency itself. And those are just hurdles that I feel like any agency founder is going to run into. We eventually got to a point where we hired an accounting team that helps work with us with invoicing, with QuickBooks, with everything that we need to do there. We work with several different companies for hiring and finding some talent to work on the team. And just a lot of those administrative tasks is just things that you have to just be in the position doing the work over time and try to figure out what's going to work best for you. And then also what's going to work best to contribute to profit.
Absolutely. And now moving on to SEO, Jeff, what do you feel are some of the common technical SEO roadblocks that you see businesses facing, and how do you advise them to overcome these challenges, apart from obviously picking up the phone and calling you?
Yeah. Yeah. So technical SEO is so important. It is the foundation of your SEO success. You can have the best content in the world. You can have all the links coming back to your site, but if you don't have that foundation, you're not going to rank well. So a lot of the challenges that we see are across the board. We've got easy stuff where, hey, I've got a bunch of broken links on my site, or I've got some broken images that are going to affect the user experience on the site. Basic low-hanging fruit stuff like that we try to solve for clients. But then we also look at things like, do I need to minify the CSS on my site, the JavaScript? Do I need to make the site faster? How are you stacking up in Google PageSpeed Insights? Are there issues happening there? All the way to how is Google crawling the site? We use a handful of different tools for our clients, things like Ahrefs, SEMrush, Screaming Frog, Siteable, a lot of different tool sets that we use to be able to analyze the sites and see what's happening. And of course, the bigger the website, the more you want to do that, the more data you want to look at to see what are some of those issues. But it depends on the size of the client site itself, depending on what kind of SEO issues they're going to have. But then using some of those tools to be able to understand what's happening, and then how do we implement some fixes to make things better.
Absolutely. And you would have come across, or rather worked with, a lot of businesses. So many businesses struggle to measure the true ROI of their SEO efforts. So how do you approach measuring SEO success for your clients and demonstrate the value that you deliver?
Yeah. So in our initial kickoff call with a new SEO client, one of the first things that we cover is the client's KPIs. There's going to be certain KPIs that we're going to recommend if we're going to look at traffic, clicks, organic rankings, what your, let's say your DR, your DA might be for your site, looking at a link building perspective side of things, try and understand what is the baseline that we're working with. And then we want to establish those KPIs to make sure that we're helping that client grow. A client, they might really want to go for an SEO strategy, but if they're not seeing that ROI, if they're not seeing form fills come through, or if they're an e-commerce site, they're not seeing product revenue come through, that's the biggest issue. So we like to align what those KPIs are on that first call. And then the second biggest thing that really goes into ROI is making sure that the analytics are correct. We've seen so many cases of, I installed Google Analytics, I don't know how else to do, don't know what else I need to track here. I don't know how to track product conversions. I don't know how to track a site view page, just different things like that, where that's important to understanding if we're driving traffic to certain pages, if we're building up your domain rating, we're building up your domain authority, things like that. We want to know that people are taking some type of action, and that tracking is just one of the most important things that you can have. And like I said, we've just ran into a lot of cases where that's not properly set up. And that's another one of those kind of foundational things that you have to have that in place if you're going to do not even just SEO, measuring SEO ROI, but also paid search ROI. Any sort of marketing effort that you're taking, you want to make sure that you have those KPIs in place, and then you're tracking in place to really understand what that ROI looks like.
Absolutely. And moving on, talking about AI, which I'm sure you'd love to talk about. How are you incorporating AI tools into your workflow, Jeff, to gain that competitive edge in organic search rankings? And what are the tools that you use on a day-to-day basis as well?
Yeah. So I am a ChatGPT fan. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that we take content from ChatGPT and use that for client websites, but we do get kind of ideas and content briefs coming out of ChatGPT. That's one of the best things. It's just been able to speed up that process for the whole team. So we'll look to ChatGPT for creating some of those content briefs that helps our team of writers be able to navigate that content and expand on certain topics. Look to it for that, but then also we use different kind of extensions with ChatGPT. There's a great one for Google Sheets that helps us analyze a lot of data. So if we're looking at, let's say, 20,000 rows of data from Google Search Console, we're trying to understand what are some patterns, what are some trends. You can actually use ChatGPT to analyze that data and say, hey, ChatGPT, give me the 4 or 5 biggest trends that you see in this data. And it can actually provide that kind of data for us. So just It speeds everything up. We really haven't jumped on board with Midjourney in terms of image creation. We use a variety of different image vendors for things like that. But I know a lot of companies have jumped on Midjourney, and what I've seen from Midjourney doesn't look great in terms of image quality and the way that the AI creates the content. So we just haven't jumped on that. But I'd say ChatGPT is definitely one of the biggest ones. We also use Surfer SEO for a lot of content creation. I
Right.
know it uses quite a bit of or not SEO, excuse me, quite a bit of AI to come up with different ideas and help you create content, all based around the semantics of it. So a couple of different tools that are at play there, but it's been a wild, I'd say 18 months in AI since everything came out. We've
Yeah.
had even more changes just this week. There's going to be more. And if anything, if business owners are listening to this, I would say don't hesitate to adopt it. It's going to become part of what we're doing. It's going to become part of what you need to do for your business, whether it's we're
Mhm.
talking SEO or just day-to-day processes that you want to make faster.
Absolutely. As long as you're taking it as an enabler into your scheme of things, it can work wonders to give you a head start. Obviously, it is not the final, it cannot be the final deliverable product as we speak now. I mean, but who knows, given the way it is evolving, right?
It's getting smarter and smarter every day. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
I've seen content from about a year ago when I think it was Chat GPT 3.5. The content was just gibberish and terrible. To where
Yeah.
now the one that they released just earlier this week, I think it's 4.0 or something like that. It is getting smarter. And I know there's like more emotion that's backed into it. So that the actual content that it produces, it's getting better. So I think we'll probably get to a point where that's where people are relying on content. I know I personally
Mhm.
seen some different content companies that we work with. They've had some trouble just based off of AI, a lot of people using AI for their content. So I think we'll
Uh-huh.
probably see that continue to happen.
All right, Jeff, give us your favorite client story.
Favorite client story. Let's see. We've got a wonderful real estate agent out in Tennessee that came to me with a site that was getting maybe 20 visits per month. It wasn't really doing much. It was his last effort to be able to say, I really want to push on marketing for this, or I'm just going to get out of the real estate business altogether. And we said, hey, let's give us 6 months and we'll try to turn this around. So we created new content for him, created a whole content strategy for him, made sure that the site's technical SEO was proficient, everything could be crawled that we wanted it to be crawled. There wasn't any sort of bloat in the crawling or anything like that. Made sure that was covered, and then kicked off a link building strategy for him as well, just to focus on how can we earn some really relevant and contextual links back to the site. And now
Mhm.
today I can say he's selling houses all the time. I think at least 12, he has 12 times the amount of traffic that he had when he started with us. And he's just happy as can be. It's just awesome to see that. We help with businesses across the board,
Mhm.
whether it's a single person business or you've got a department of 20 people in your business. It's whether it's a small win or a big win, we just love to see it.
All right. It's a difficult task to say no to a client, right, Jeff? I mean, we run the agency, we need to keep the lights on, need to run the show, right? But
Yep.
we all have said no to some client or the other at some point. We all have our own reasons. Give us one story wherein you have said no to a client, the reason behind it, if you wish to share, and your experience about saying a no to a client.
Sure. Yeah. So just jumping back into the whole AI and chat GPT kind of thing here, we did have a
Hmm.
handful of, they didn't become actual clients, but in what they were requesting was, I want to produce 20 articles of content from ChatGPT a week. And we pushed back on that and said, that's not going to be good. That's going to be a lot of duplicate content, plagiarized
Yeah.
content, stuff that Google is going to figure out. We don't want to do that. And those, like I said, those people didn't become clients because of that reason. But that's a perfect use case where if a client says, I want to create all this content with AI. I don't care about what Google thinks. I just want to do it. That's where we're going to advise them and say that's not a good idea. And in some cases, if we have to say no, we have to say no, and unfortunately end that relationship.
All right, great. All right, Jeff, this has been a brilliant session. But before we let you go, I would like to play a quick rapid fire. I hope you're game for it.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. You're
Last Google search, laboratory information systems.
okay. What did you do with your first paycheck, Jeff? First paycheck of your life.
First paycheck of my life. Wow, that is a long time ago. I'm pretty sure I probably bought a video game.
Okay. Your celebrity crush.
Oh, celebrity crush. Let's say Taylor Swift.
Okay. All right. Where do we find you on Friday evenings, Jeff? After office or let's say after work?
Yeah, usually either at home or maybe taking my dogs for a walk. It's getting to be beautiful weather, so we like to go for hikes. I have 3 rescue dogs, so I love to take them out for hikes, but
Ah, lovely.
usually just hanging somewhere and keeping it pretty relaxed.
Superb, yeah, Jeff. Once again, thank you so much. We'll not give you any further. Thank you so much for taking out time to do this with us.
You
Yeah, but
bet.
one last time, let's say for audiences, they want to reach out to you, how do they do that?
Yep. Yeah. So you can find us at octivdigital.com. That's OCTIV as in Victor, digital.com. You can look me up on LinkedIn, Jeff Romero on there. And yeah, should be able to find a couple of different ways to find us.
All right, lovely. Thank you once again, Jeff. It was a great session and really it was a pleasure hosting you, man. Cheers.
Yeah. Thanks again.